gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Claddercast episode 54. I'm Steve Tudor.
And I'm Andy Lewis.
We are missing a member. Those of you who can count without taking your shoes and socks off will be aware that we are missing a member. Unfortunately, John can't make it tonight. He's had some bad news and he is, not in the situation to podcast, should we say. And we'll leave it at that, I think.
Yes, less said, soonest mended, I think.
Yes, which means the big list of things we were going to talk about in the beginning of this little banter section, where I was going to take the piss out of John for his New Year's resolutions from last year, no longer apply.
Why not? We can still do it. He's just not here to defend himself. Surely that just makes it easier.
This episode is our preview to 2019. So basically, it's all the games we're looking forward to over the next coming 12 months, whether they be games coming to Kickstarter that we can look forward to backing, or games that are either going to be delivered via Kickstarter or should be available on the shelves to purchase. Now, I think you've done the same as well. I went back and I listened to last year's show where we gave our predictions for 2018.
Yes, I have.
Just to see, kind of how many games we said we were going to play and what we didn't. And one of the things that John said is he had a New Year's resolution to play more board games and do less work as well. That was the other one. Less work, more board games.
Well, as his colleague, I can categorically say he's failed at least one of those things. John has been a very busy bee at work over the last 12 months. So, he's not done well there.
Well, I think he's also not got his second resolution, which was to play more miniatures games. Because unless John's been playing them on the sly...
no, I'm not aware of any, actually. I think he's played that sci-fi hide-around box shooting each other on roofs game with you that I can never remember the name of.
Infinity.
That's the chap. But beyond that, I don't think he's managed it.
Yeah, I think we had 2 days of kind of intense Infinity. We played 5 games of... Was it one day? We basically played for the entire Operation Ice Storm starter set in a day. We burnt through it in nobody's business, and then we've not played it since.
Wow, well done there, boys.
Yeah,
good job.
Good job. And I haven't played any other ones either.
I have.
Go on, what you played?
It begins with D and ends with Eep Madness.
That's not a miniatures game.
It has miniatures in it.
No, that's a board game with miniatures. Did you require a ruler?
No.
No, there we go then. When I say miniatures games, I always mean something like 40k or,
Did we play Rune Wars this 2018, or was that 2017?
No, that was 2017.
Wow, time is flying.
It is. We're getting old, mate.
We are. Well, you have got old.
He says, and I can see there's a bit of salt and pepper appearing in your beard there, Mr.
I've had that for many years. You leave my badger stripes alone. Do you know what? I've been going grey since the age of 22.
Really?
Yeah, that's what a PhD does for you.
Oh, that's not good. I mean, at least you seem to be quite thick up top, though, I must admit.
I'm really not.
I'm
really not. I'm
going,
hiding it well. Oh, God, yeah. Look at the top. Look at the top. You can see daylight. There's a reflection. It's not good. I'm getting to the point where I might have to actually rub sun cream into my hair just to stop my scalp burning. Oh, it's not. Old age is a bastard.
Oh, God, yeah. Tell me about it. My knees are shot to buggery.
As are mine. 20-odd years of football and a year and a half of roller derby, and I am a broken man.
So I've just got 40 years of being a fat bastard. That's all that's affected mine.
That doesn't help. My left knee is actually in such a state that whenever I go upstairs now, it crunches and it sounds like it's full of Rice Krispies.
I've got the exact same thing on my right knee. At first, I thought there was something wrong with the carpet because we just moved into somewhere new. I kept thinking, there's something wrong with this underlay here. Every time I step on the steps, it's like you're treading on bubble wrap or something. It's like, and I thought, there's something wrong with this carpet. Then I realised it was me making that noise.
Yeah, it's quite depressing when you get to hear that noise. You're like, I never used to make that sound. What's going on? Have you not noticed that once you get to age 30, your body bits of it just stop working without notice? It's like, up until then, it's all fine. You can go out drinking whenever you want. You know, you can go drinking for 3 days and take 1 day to recover. Now you can go drinking for 1 day and you take 3 days to recover. But then your legs stop working, there's funny pains in your back, and oh, my arm's a bit sore today, what have I done? Oh, I've slept, that's what caused it. It's just weird. Take us behind the barn and give us both barrels for the good of everybody.
We're supposed to be talking about some board games on this show, you know.
We're supposed to be, yes. So, we all failed in playing more miniatures games.
Yes.
If I distinctly remember, John was interested in the Fallout board game, Wasteland Warfare, and also the Star Wars miniatures game as well.
I can't remember what it's called. Legion, Star Wars Legion.
That's the chap. And we have failed miserably on all counts.
I played Wasteland Warfare at Tabletop Gaming Live.
Oh, you did? I remember.
Yes.
Well done.
I thought it was okay. It didn't set my world on fire.
Oh dear. Oh, is this the one with the really tiny tokens? There's millions of them. Right, that's right.
Millions
I remember
of really, really, really wee tokens. Yeah.
I remember.
It's okay. Oh, that sounds really bad. It's got some nice features in it, like the way the range works and the way you can add equipment. I just thought it simplified things in some areas and then made other areas unnecessarily complex.
Yes.
Tokens being a really good one. But the games were quite short because you only had like 3 models each. It meant there wasn't too much to keep track of, if that made sense.
Oh, that's good. So there's nothing not too long term.
Yeah. It's complicated, but each turn is quite short. It's kind of like a little bit more. The bars have been shifted to infinity, because at infinity you have like 10 models, and although there's lots of options you can do, it's basically like your most common option is going to be run and shoot, and then maybe run, shoot, and hack, or run and hack, or something like that. This was kind of like a few more options available. So.
Okay, I see.
As for Star Wars Legion, I was thinking of getting it and didn't in the end.
Was that a financially based decision?
It's going to crop up quite a bit, this theme, in this episode when we reviewed last year, but yes, buying a house is quite expensive, shall we say.
I am recently, I'm obviously having recently moved, I am also discovering that houses are expensive, having spent an inordinate amount of money on things like electrical fittings, light switches, paint, curtains and curtain rails.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, it's how does it cost that much money? It's just silly. It's just a piece of wood and some screws.
Have you done the trip to Dunelm Mill yet?
Oh yeah, we've been there 4 times, mate.
4 times? Oh my God.
That's where we got the curtain poles, the curtains. What else did we get? We're looking at. We got a couple of lampshades or light shades as well. Oh yeah, that's like our sort of go-to place now in Kidderminster.
So for those outside the UK, Dunelm Mill is like this out-of-town big store that just basically sells like curtains, duvet covers, and lampshades, basically, isn't it?
Oh, and mats.
Oh, mats, yeah. And every time I go there, my eyes water when I get to the till, because it's like, how have we spent so much?
Yeah, that sounds about right. We went, the major trip we went was to get some curtains. Laura found sort of a nice pattern, which you can see to my left here, and because it goes with the colour of the room. God, I sound like I should be on changing rooms. And we went to get a set of curtains. 1 set. We came back with 3 sets of curtains, 5 curtain rails, and it's 2 sets of curtains for the bedroom as well. So I spent the following weekend hanging the bastards. When I got to the till, the sum was about 5 times larger than the price we went out for.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so Dunelm's dangerous. Anyway, board games.
We do apologise for this intermission, ladies and gentlemen. We will talk about board games.
People are here for the chat. It's fine.
Speaking about forgetting to do stuff.
Oh,
did we miss
yes!
it from the last episode.
Yeah, we kind of forgot a fairly major segment, didn't we? I say major. I only say major because I'm doing it. For the last couple of years, my OCD is appreciative of a quality insert, because let's be honest, most inserts in board games are a bit pants. You'll put them in, there's not enough room, they don't sit right, either the miniatures don't fit properly, the cards go everywhere when you put your board game on its side. Lords of Waterdeep, prime example, looks lovely, everything goes in when it's flat. As soon as you stick that on its side, you might as well have put a grenade in there.
Or go over a speed bump.
Yes, exactly.
Game night. I have been driving somewhere and heard that game box in the boot go.
Yep. We've all been there. Oh, God. Or I've braked too hard, and because I've got leather seats in the car, there's no grip and no friction. So the box zooms off the seat, crashes into the footwell, and everything goes everywhere.
The very first time I went to an X-Wing tournament, I had the X-Wing stuff on the passenger driving seat, and I did exactly that. It was the first time I broke at a junction. It all flew forward, the catch released, and X-Wings and tokens and dice just went everywhere in the passenger footwell.
I've never had that. They've always stayed within the box, but whenever they're just going everywhere. Oh my God, now that is funny.
They just went absolutely everywhere. I swear, I was picking out stress tokens out of those footwells for weeks after that.
Outstanding. So, the worst offenders aren't actually the trenches from FFG, because whilst they are kind of shit, you can remove them and no one really expects anything of them. Whereas there are some truly terrible inserts. But this is for inserts that are actually quite good. And there is a reasonable shortlist this year. It seems that some developers are in fact getting their act together. And I've had a few this year, one of which was Grim Forest. We didn't actually really enjoy the game, but I must admit the insert was fantastic. Really, really nicely designed.
I agree with you there.
Who Goes There? I don't think you've seen that yet.
No,
but Rory has also got it, and he's a big fan of the insert. And I have to say, it is a lovely insert, as long as the game stays flat. As soon as you put it on its side, utterly useless, you've got a card salad.
So it's lost points there.
It has, so it's kind of dropping down. We've recently played Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. That's also got a nice insert.
Yep. And functional, I thought, as well.
Exactly. This is the thing.
The insert got used during the game rather than just being something to hold it in the box. I was rather impressed by that one.
Yes, exactly. Although I did notice, having transported it on its side, I did have to repack most of the counters into it. So
it failed on the side test again.
It did. You have Endeavour Age of Sail, and I came round, and I really liked that. That was basically, here is a trub, here we go, Andy, here is an insert for you, and all of the stuff for one player is in one bit. Did it pass? Because this is your game. Does it pass the side test?
Yes, it does, because it's packed so tightly in there. There's so much stuff in there that it goes in quite snug, and it's also got that thing where the tray which contains all the market items, the building upgrades, again goes into the table and becomes the centre of the table for using that item.
Well, that's good there. Myself and John have got Nemesis. That's quite good as it stands. It's well packed again. There's a lot in the box, so nothing goes anywhere. It's a 2-layer insert. All the miniatures fit in nicely. The cards fit in nicely, so that's quite well designed. There's even space in there for people who sleeve cards. There's like a normal insert for the cards, and then there's a slightly bigger one for anyone who sleeves their cards as well. And there's two sizes of cards as well, so they've really thought about that. You're kind of thinking, well, there's a lot of dead space in that box, which there kind of is. But to be fair, it does work, and that has definitely passed the side test. And also, I've got Lords of Hellas, again by Awakened Realms. That's a bit of a squeeze, but nothing goes everywhere, so that's good as well. So, from that shortlist, I'm going to give it, really, to Endeavour Age of Sail, because that has functionality, purpose, it fits well, and it's used in the game. Now, one thing you might notice for those of you who are astute, 3 of the ones on this list, I think it's 3, are all made by Game Trays.
Yes.
It seems that Game Trays know what they're doing, because they did Mechs vs. Minions as well. And that's a lovely insert.
That's a fantastic insert, that one, yeah.
So there we go. I think Game Trays and Endeavour Age of Sail here are... there we go. There's take home, print out an award if you wish. Go down to the local Timpson and get a cheap trophy and put it on your mantelpiece.
I do wonder if we should make this just like a little trophy we can send to a publisher. Polyhedron Colliders Insert of Choice Award 2018.
Definitely. I shall get on it tomorrow.
Did you ever see the videogamer.com E3 awards?
I am aware of them.
About a few years ago. So everyone, all the magazines, when they go to E3 and do the video game stuff, they give these awards, and they actually give them as little plaques that go on the wall of the of the booth.
Oh right, okay.
So you'll get all the big magazines and all the big websites. You'll get like IGN's most exciting looking game, and GameSpot's best graphics or whatever. And I can't remember most of them, but one of Video Gamer's ones was least likely to be shit awards.
Definitely, we should have that.
Yeah. But what's most impressive is they gave it to Witcher 3. And Witcher 3 put it right smack bang in the middle of their awards wall. So when they're doing the span shot of all these awards, it's right smack in the middle, least likely to be shit.
That's great. And apparently it wasn't. Apparently it was quite good.
I've got it on the PlayStation 4, and I still have not played it.
Hmm.
If you think my board game pile of shame is large, wait till you see my PC and PS4 pile of shame.
Mine is similarly large. I've still got a couple of games still in shrink, which is terrible. Right,
so we're going to start off by, as we said, looking at what we predicted and what we thought we were going to like and back last year. So we won't spend too long dwelling over this, but this is going to give you a little bit of a hint as to how accurate our own predictions were. Spoiler, they were crap.
You speak for yourself, Tudor.
I am. So, first of all, we're going to split. We're going to do the same as we did last year. So what we're going to do is split the games into games that are coming to Kickstarter that we're planning on backing in Kickstarter over the next 12 months, and then we're going to talk about games which we're going to get on, in our hands and play over the next 12 months. So we'll start with a look back. So, which games did you think you were going to back on Kickstarter last year?
I listed U-Boot, which I did. It hasn't shipped yet, though, so I can't say I've played it, but it is about to ship. I've seen photos from the Kickstarter campaign saying there's pallets of this game knocking about, so that's on its way soon. So 1 out of 3. I said I would I'd brack Bass. Wait, no. I'd back Brass. And which I did, and was amazing. We both played that. We really, really like Brass, both versions of it, yep. So that's gone down well. And I said I'd back Deep Madness, which I may have mentioned on occasion over the last 12 months.
Possibly, yeah.
And was one of my contenders for Game of the Year. Actually, to be fair, so was Brass.
I can edit John in, I can put this little soundbite in if you want.
I think it's better.
So, I on my 3 picks were Batman Gotham City Chronicles, which I did not back because, quite frankly, it was eye-wateringly expensive.
Was this the one that was about 700 rips?
It wasn't quite that much, but it was. I was hoping there was going to be like a really good tiered backing level, and maybe I could go get the base game. But I think it was like minimum backing level was about £100, if I remember rightly. Right.
Yes,
and I hadn't long moved house after when that came out, so it was like,
so Dunelm was getting your money instead.
Yeah, Dunelm got my money instead. But the other one was, it's the reason why we liked Batman, because it was so similar to Conan, effectively the same game. And I kind of went, well, I've got Conan, and I have played my copy once.
So buying Conan in a cape was probably not worth it then?
The cost-value relationship did not come out in its favour, basically, should we say. Which is a shame because I think it's gonna be a really, really good game, and I've actually heard some rumours that it's going to be coming back to Kickstarter sometime in the next 12 months as well.
Ooh.
They're going to do like a chapter 2. So what will probably happen is they'll ship what they've done, and there'll be another chance to get onto Kickstarter then. My second pick for Kickstarter was Endeavour, a game which we've already mentioned today. So I did back that. I have had delivered of it. I've played it a few times even, which is a miracle in itself.
Indeed, even I've played it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that. It was a hit. That was a good game. So the other Kickstarter I mentioned was Eclipse 2nd Edition. Now, this is another game I didn't back when it came to Kickstarter, and again, it's due to the expense. I kind of thought, I can't justify the cost at the moment. Again, don't know I'm getting all my money. But I didn't see the point in kickstarting it.
Yeah, I remember you saying this at the time, and I had a look, and with everyone's estimates of what it would cost on the shelf, I agree with you, actually. I think your reasoning, which I will let you now do.
Yeah, so Colossal Games are bringing Eclipse 2nd Dawn for the Galaxy out, and they said right from the start, this game is coming to retail.
Right.
And it was $100 for the basic pledge, and then shipping on top. And I kind of went, hang on a minute. I have a funny feeling. The big story was the FOMO action they were taking was, well, if you back it on Kickstarter, it's going to be cheaper than the retail price. And I started thinking, well, what will the retail price be? And what will it be once you've taken into account all the online stores adding their online store discount? And I couldn't justify the cost. I just thought, I might as well wait until this comes out on retail and see what price it is then. I might lose out. It might be more expensive, but it didn't seem... I did some kind of back of the fag packet calculations and kind of went, I can't see this being much dearer if I wait for retail.
No, indeed. It's probably like, £5, maybe, and that's just not worth it, really. I mean, if you're going to save 50 quid, yeah, totally. But, yeah, for a bit of change, no, I agree with you. Because I know you went through the logic with me, and I can't... Do you know what? You're probably right.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I let that one slip, and, well, we're still waiting for that one to come out, actually, so it shouldn't be too long away, actually, I don't think. So, John's choices were Nemesis.
Which has shipped.
Which backed and shipped.
Don't know if he's played it yet, but I've played my copy.
I'm going to take a bet. I'm going to say he hasn't played it.
I am not going to take that bet.
No.
But it's good. I can verify and vouch for the fact that it is a very good game.
So his second game he picked was Hate, which he didn't back in the end because he said it felt like more style over substance.
Really? Simon? Surely not.
And his last choice was actually a game he didn't back because he let you back it, which was Who Goes There?
Yes, and I have since played it a couple of times, although hilariously not all the way through either time because of reasons. One of those reasons was one of the players accidentally completely revealing their entire hidden hand, showing that they were in fact the killer, at which point one of the other members of the game promptly took a shotgun to their face, and that was the end of that.
Schoolboy error.
Yes, but generally speaking, Who Goes There is very, very good, actually. It achieves what it sets out to. I'm not going to go into too much detail because we haven't really talked about it much yet on the podcast. I would like to talk about it, but basically, it's very good. Definitely worth playing. But it does need the full complement of 6.
One for maybe City of Games or Aircon later in the year then.
Yes.
So, we also picked some published games.
Oh, yes. Rise of Fenris. So
you picked a couple of expansions then.
Yes, well, it's not as if I have a reputation for expanding my games for no apparent reason. But yeah, so the first one I mentioned was a Stonemaier expansion. What a surprise. Was the third and final expansion for Scythe, which is the Rise of Fenris. I have it, but I haven't used it yet. But that is an 8-game resettable campaign, so it requires quite a bit of investment. So I haven't looked at it yet. I've opened it and poked about, but that's about all I've done. And the second one I went for was the smaller of the two Mansions of Madness expansions from 2018, which was Sanctum of Twilight, which I have played, or at least played at least one of the scenarios from it a couple of times, which I really enjoyed, actually. It adds a couple of new mechanics, so you can actually improve your character during the game. You can sort of buff them, take potions and things to improve them. The scenarios are really good, quite tense, a little bit more investigatory, instead of just sort of shooting and punching star spawns in the face. So, yeah, both of those bought, one played, and obviously I got the second of the 2 expansions of Mansions as well this year, but I haven't played it yet.
So my 2 picks, which are games I was looking forward to, were Rising Sun.
Yes, I've seen it, but
managed to play only once in the last 12 months, which I'm really disappointed by, because again, like you were saying, the Who Goes There, it works best. Well, it needs at least 3 players, and I think it needs a good complement. Now, I've heard some people say it actually works really well with 3, but my gut is you want 5, really, because you want some of those alliances to work. It's really bizarre because it's almost like purposely unbalanced.
Really?
It's almost like as if some of the cards are purposely overpowered, and the whole idea is you as players are expected to rebalance the game by picking on the person who got the overpowered card.
Ah, okay, that's interesting. Well, you should mention that. I have that feeling about Teotihuacan as well. I played that again last night. And Alora's convinced that the pyramid action in the middle, so building the pyramid in the middle of the board, is too powerful in terms of getting victory points.
Okay.
But I stuck to that strategy last night, and she beat me, so that's that I did. Knocked into a cocked hat.
So the second game I picked was Warhammer 40,000 Heroes of Black Reach, which I didn't actually even realise it had been released. I knew there were some delays, and I think it got released just before Christmas. And unfortunately haven't got around to checking that out yet. So we've already mentioned John's 2 choices, which were Fallout, Wasteland Warfare and Star Wars Legion. So we already know he hasn't played them. So
no. Oh dear.
That was our track record from last year.
Not great.
Not great, no, I'm going to admit, not great. So let's talk about 2019.
Yes, let's. Oh God. Where to start? It's not as if this is a short list.
Let's start with campaigns we know are coming to Kickstarter over the next 12 months, or at least we think they are.
Yeah, there's a bit of speculation involved in here.
In fact, this entire list is a lot of speculation, I think, because often things can go very wrong.
Indeed. So this is our get out clause for 12 months' time when we come back and go, yeah, we were wrong.
My most wrong I've been is a game which appeared on one of my preview lists that I wrote on the blog before we were doing the podcast.
Right.
And that game has still not come out.
Seriously?
And it's called Chronicles Origins. It was supposed to be a legacy game being designed by Rob Davio of Pandemic Legacy and Risk Legacy fame. And it was supposed to come out, I think, 3 years ago. And it kept getting delayed, and no one has heard much about it for a good 2 years now.
Oh dear, so it's stuck in development hell, maybe.
Yeah, it was a really clever idea if it worked, which it was supposed to be a legacy game which branched over several games. So it's going to be a series of different games which had a legacy which went across all of them.
Oh, wow. Okay, interesting.
So maybe it didn't work.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I suppose if you missed that, I mean, I suppose that requires quite a lot of investment from the buyer. Because you're buying 3 games, that makes it horribly expensive. Because if you miss out on the first one, you can't.
Well, I think it was intended to be over a few years kind of thing. So it wasn't supposed to be like, okay, we're releasing all 3 now. I think it was supposed to be over some time we're going to release them. Tell me about a Kickstarter you are excited to back over the next 12 months, Mr. Lewis.
Well, on the subject of not knowing really very much about this list, I'm going to start with the most ambiguous and unknown game on here. And that is all I know so far is going to be the 4th game in the Dark Cities series. Now, for those of you who are unaware of what that is, the Dark Cities series are made by Facade Games, and we have covered one of them so far in this podcast, which is Tortuga 1667. And that is where you play. It's a hidden information game, and as are the other two. So the second one was Salem 1492, and the third one was called Deadwood 18 something or other. And as you can probably imagine, I haven't actually played the second or third ones of these yet, because they're quite large. They require large numbers of people, so they're quite difficult to actually get to the table. Because I wouldn't say they're party games, but they're group games, and because they all require hidden information, you need more players, really. I mean, Tortuga does a pitiful 9, you know. So these all come in lovely fake books. So when they're on the shelf, they look like small books. So they look really, really pretty. They're all very well made. They're all actually very reasonably priced. So as I have all three, the completionist acquisition junkie within me is obviously interested in the fourth, but because they're good value, it's probably certainly worth keeping an eye on. Now, they have said they're going to try and get it out towards the end of 2019, but it might not appear until 2020. I don't even know what it's going to be called yet. All we know is they're making one.
Okay. My choice is also a little bit speculative, because I've heard this is coming, but I don't really know any details about it. And this is the Bloodborne board game from Eric Lang and Simon.
At least you know what it's called.
Well, yeah, okay. So this is based on the video game on PlayStation, which is affectionately known as part of the Soulsborne series of games. So it's From Software series of games. So Dark Souls is probably the most famous of them, and Bloodborne is whereas Dark Souls is like a medieval knights fighting against dragons kind of thing. That's a very, very loose term because it's much more complicated than that. Bloodborne is kind of a Victorian Gothic. You're fighting against werewolves and like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of creatures.
Cool.
I don't want to say much more than that because it goes into something a bit more weird, and I don't want to spoil the story.
I was about to say something, but I won't now, because I think I know what it is. But I won't say it.
You are perfectly allowed to take the piss out of me for this choice, because we all know the Dark Souls board game was a bit of a disappointment.
It's an understatement.
The Bloodborne card game was a little bit of a disappointment, and so there's no guarantee that the third chance at this will be any good. Although I haven't played the Dark Souls card game yet, but I've heard, although I've not heard any bad things about it, I've not heard people raving about it. So what we do know is it's going to have some really beautiful miniatures based on the Bloodborne creatures. And I've got to admit, we always say it shouldn't be about the miniatures, but dear gods, I will buy this game even if just as some lovely Bloodborne miniatures. A nice hunter miniature, a nice Father Gascoigne miniature. I think I'd be happy.
Did you say Paul Gascoigne then?
Father Gascoigne.
Father Gascoigne, okay, not Paul Gascoigne. They're very different things.
Father Gascoigne is he's the second boss in the game.
Okay.
So he's a priest that turns into an absolutely humongous werewolf.
Right.
And kicked my ass about 300 times.
Yes, the Soulsborne games are... They reward persistence, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Okay, that sounds... I mean, I'm not surprised you've gone for that, because you've raved about the Soulsborne games several times in the past, and if the twist in this is what I think it is, then there's another good reason why you're also interested in this as well. So, moving on, before we both ruin this, John has gone, speaking of Simon, for no real surprise, to be brutally honest, but it's certainly a talking point, and that is Munchkin Dungeon. I
must admit, I'm quite excited to hear about this as well.
There's something wrong with you.
Again, it's Simon and Eric Lang, and that's the second time we've mentioned him, and little spoiler, it's not going to be the last. What I've heard about this game is it's using the Munchkin kind of theme, and it's going to be something in the vein of Arcadia Quest. So Arcadia Quest is a slightly light-hearted dungeon game, which is a lot of fun. If he can remix that enough with the Munchkin world, I think it should be an amazing game. Because Munchkin's silly, Arcadia Quest has got a hint of silliness to it. Basically, if you just rethemed Arcadia Quest with Munchkin, I think it would be fine.
So it's more of a theme change rather than the mechanics of Munchkin, isn't it? Because...
Don't know, because we don't know what the game's going to be yet. All they've shown us is some artwork and some renders of the miniatures.
Right, okay.
So we don't know anything about the rules at this point and the gameplay, but I can imagine John is going to love it because it's going to be a game about being a dick to your friends.
I think that's pretty much nailed on then. And it's a legacy game, is it not?
Is it?
I was under the impression it is, but maybe I'm thinking of something else. Or maybe I'm thinking of Munchkin Legacy.
I did not know Munchkin Legacy was coming.
It isn't. I'm basically making shit up at this point. I know what it is. It's because we were talking about Clank Legacy earlier today, and my brain has just done a fart. So ignore me. I'm talking shite.
It's not like you, Andy.
No, it's unheard of. Never happened before. First time for everything. So, moving on. Speaking of shite, Chocolate Factory. Not that it is shite, but the childish playground boy within me starts thinking of this every time we mention Chocolate Factory. You know, the milk lemonade bit. We're all 5 years old at heart.
Oh dear.
But putting my mature hat on for a moment, briefly. Chocolate Factory is hopefully an upcoming Kickstarter from Alley Cat Games. They've recently shipped out Dice Hospital, which I did back and have received, and rather like. That's quite a good game. We played a very early prototype of Chocolate Factory at Expo, and that's a game where you are running a chocolate factory, where you are basically taking various sort of raw materials and performing actions upon them in sequence, along a conveyor belt. So you basically push chocolates along this conveyor belt and you're building the machines either side of it to perform essentially upgrade actions on each of these items to make them gradually better and to meet orders that are on offer in a sort of marketplace. And I think it's fair to say you and I both played it. We both really, really liked it. So I'm very keen on that. I think it's fairly high possibility that I will be backing it, given that I've been bugging Cesar every time I see him. When's it out? So yeah, really looking forward to that. Alley Cat have done a really great job with Theme Hospital. That's really well made. So hopefully more of the same in Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, I was rather impressed with the demo we had at UK Games Expo. It was very crude prototype we played. But I really did like this the way the engine building worked, and you were setting up this little production line. It's going to be even better, I think, once you start getting some decent artwork and proper pieces on there, so it wasn't just a couple of wooden cubes kind of thing. But
yeah, totally.
I'm quite interested to see what this looks like.
And it had the, oh crap, should have done that 2 turns ago. We both fell into that trap a few times, so yes. That's the sign of a great game.
So a game that I'm excited to see, I'm taking a punt and assuming this is coming to Kickstarter because it's coming from Braincrack Games and all their other games have been via Kickstarter in the past, and that's The Gig. Now, I didn't get a chance to play this at UK Games Expo because I was playing Ragusa, but our friend Adam played The Gig and he was really impressed with it, which is why I was quite surprised by, actually, because it's not a theme that would generally excite him. The Gig is a game in which you are playing a jazz band.
Oh, nice.
And it's like a dice drafting, so you're rolling dice and then positioning them, and what you're positioning on the board is basically the song you are playing.
Great.
So as a team, you have to place dice in the right place to make sure the song keeps on playing.
Oh.
But because it's jazz, you've got a chance to do a bit of improvisation, a bit of solo work, and mix things up a bit.
Make it up.
Yeah, jazz. Make shit up. So there's an opportunity to place dice to improve your own score. So it's this kind of separate semi-cooperative game where you've got to work together to finish the song, but at the same time you want to do things to improve like how you appear in the band compared to everyone else.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Rory said he's played it, he really loved it. Adam said he played it and really loved it, which, considering Adam only usually plays games which have got some kind of anime theme, I was quite surprised at.
And are card-based.
Yeah, so I'm really quite intrigued with this. I'm hearing a lot of buzz about it, and it should be on Kickstarter sometime this year.
And if you, I think what they should do is bundle a few episodes of the Fast Show with it as well. so that everyone can appreciate jazz club. So yeah, that actually sounds quite interesting, I must admit, because I was expecting some kind of board game version of Guitar Hero or something. I'm thinking, how on earth is that going to work? But that makes more sense. So the third game I have on my little list here, Magnate, The First City.
Okay.
Which I have Rory to thank, actually. He says he's played that. I assume at Expo, but I don't know. And it's a game where you are obviously a property magnate in a large city. So you own property, you build it up, you sell it, you charge rent, you improve your properties, get more rent, etc., etc., etc. It looks very, very pretty. The components, from what I can see on from what I've seen on some of the images I've seen, look really, really quite good. So it reminded me a little bit of SimCity, but it looks there's a bit more to it than that. So a bit more strategic. So that sounds quite good. I'm probably going to be interested in its Kickstarter as well. So looking forward to that. A little bit different to my normal fare of dry, boring Euro. So this one looks quite colourful and fancy. So we'll give that a go. I should break from the mould.
Okay. So my last choice for something I'm looking forward to hitting Kickstarter this year is, unfortunately for our dear listeners, another Simon game and another game where Eric Lang has had his hand in it. But this game sounds really intriguing. It's called Krudvang Legends. And it is another game about Norse mythology.
It's quite popular at the moment, that idea.
Yeah. So it's about Norse and Celtic mythology, actually.
Ooh.
It'd be interesting to see if it includes any Welsh mythology, because I've looked into that in the past, and boy, somebody must have found some mushrooms in the Welsh hillside.
Is that how they founded Wrexham? Looks lovely here. No.
So what's interesting about this game is it's kind of a legacy game that not everyone has to keep on playing. You don't have to play it as a campaign.
Oh. You can sort of dip in and out.
You can dip in and out, apparently, but what happens is you play like generations of heroes. So there's Celtic and Nordic heroes, and it sounds more like I know I've not played maybe. Have you heard like a roguelike game?
I have, yes. I have Faster Than Light, FTL. That's a roguelike.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, there's some of them have this idea where you have like family trees. So you play one game, you play a game, and you die, and you start from the beginning again. But your next character is Rogue Legacy, I think is the name of the game I'm thinking of, where your next character is descended from the first character. So like traits carry on. What happens is when you play a game, things that happen during that game will affect the next game you play. So the board state changes. I think what happens is like cards get put into sleeves on the board.
Ah, okay. So it's resettable.
And so it's I think the idea is that it is resettable by the sounds of it, but at the same time it's not a legacy game. You can play a game. So me and you could play a game, for instance, and our heroes leave sagas behind, and then me and John could play a game, and we're playing a game after me and you have played. So our heroes affect the next game. Then I could play a game with you, and then John's heroes will be affecting your game.
Ah, okay. So it's a little bit, in a way, a bit like the Forgotten Realms idea, in the sense that everyone plays their own game, but there is kind of a continuing thread of lore throughout the whole thing, where significant events, like actually an issue of White Dwarf many years ago, when they released Warhammer 2nd Edition, Warhammer 40k 2nd Edition, the box set. They were touting that, and there was a battle between the Blood Angels and the Space Orcs. In like the first turn of the game, the sort of Orc Psyker managed to fry the Blood Angels character's brain, and basically just killed him outright like that in the first turn of the game. But in subsequent miniatures that Games Workshop released, Brother Captain Erasmus Tycho, that was his name. Because I had the original miniature of that, and then they released a subsequent one where he had like half of his face in a mask, because basically he'd suffered some kind of seizure. So half his face was limp, so he covered it in a mask, but it's basically just an excuse to release another model, isn't it? But they added it to the sort of the lore of the Blood Angels, which I thought was quite a nice touch.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so we don't actually know much about the details of this yet. It's coming to Kickstarter sometime this year, but there's no real details about gameplay, but it sounds intriguing.
Indeed.
that's our picks for which games we're going to back on Kickstarter. Now, we were thinking of splitting this next section into two lists: games that are coming via Kickstarter, and games that are just coming to the shelf. And so we've started to realise that nearly, whereas it used to be like 10% Kickstarter, 90% published, and then last year I think it was about 50-50. This year it feels like 90% of the games coming out are coming out via Kickstarter.
It's been really hard to actually find stuff that's not on Kickstarter. There's a few, but it's really tough.
It's been a bit of an eye-opener, actually.
Yes, it's quite... I wonder, it does make me wonder, actually, just how sustainable it is for the industry. And also for the, traditional publishers. Because, I mean, FFG are, a fairly hefty traditional publisher. I would just wonder what effect
it's FFG Asmodee, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah.
You got to wonder. I mean, they're doing okay. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that they publish that we do buy. So, I don't think they're going to go down anytime soon. But it does make you wonder. That said, there's also a lot of stuff coming out on Kickstarter that is very, very cool. And it does give... We've mentioned, obviously, that Kickstarter does allow for creativity and different people to do different things.
However, I think it's also a sign that what a lot of people were saying last year as a downside, that Kickstarter is generally turning into a pre-order system.
Yes.
Which is, we've already mentioned Clip 2nd Edition. That's exactly what I felt about Clip 2nd Edition. It didn't feel like I was kickstarting the game. It felt like I was just pre-ordering it if I bought it from Kickstarter.
Yeah. No, it's we shall have to see where the year takes us.
So then, I see on our show notes you have like 100 games to choose from.
I do, yes.
So I'm going to be really cruel, and I'm going to ask you to pick 2 or 3.
Well, I've been thinking about this. So, having just said that most of the games are coming to Kickstarter and coming from Kickstarter, I'm going to pick one that isn't. I'm going to pick the one that isn't. And that is Comanauts. Which is from Plaid Hat. The same people who did Dead of Winter, and also the same people who did Stuffed Fables, both of which I have. Comanauts is in the same vein as Stuffed Fables. It's touted as a storybook game. So the idea is that you haven't played Stuffed Fables yet, have you?
No, I haven't, no.
Oh, it's brilliant. I haven't reviewed it yet either because I've not played it enough, but the 3 or 4 games I have played of it are really, really, really good. Obviously, I don't know a huge amount about Comanauts, other than you are basically inside the mind of a coma patient. So you're sort of the little gribblies inside his head, and you're going through a story. So literally, the idea is that the game is this big, whacking great, almost ring-bound storybook. So you open it up, and you have the story on one page, and on the other side, you have the board. And the board changes every time. So you go through a chapter, you win it or you lose it, and you get this branching story arc, depending on what happens in the game. And you can actually go through some of the squares and pick out certain events in the story. You don't have to do it, but you could do it. And it'll pull different threads of the story out. So like turn to page. It's almost like a choose your own adventure, almost. Not quite as complicated, but that along those sort of lines. And you got sort of lovely little miniatures. The combat system is very straightforward. It's not quite single dice roll, which I know we're not fans of. You can choose to do a single dice roll, but you basically roll dice at the start of your turn, and you can choose where to assign your dice, depending on the colour and what they roll and stuff. So, sorry, you don't roll them, but you can choose to roll as many of the same colour as you like for a specific action. So you've got a lot of flexibility on how you approach the game. It's always cooperative, so it's actually quite a good game. Stuffed Fable certainly is, and I imagine Comanauts is going to be very similar. It's a good game to sort of introduce people to board games, because you can sort of guide them through it, and you get this really nice story going through the game, and you shape the story as you go. And again, if it's like Stuffed Fables, which I imagine it is, I mean, from the photographs, it looks basically Stuffed Fables with a reskin, and probably a couple, obviously, a different story. You can guide, you can take these people through the game, and because there's this wonderful story over the top, people feel really involved. And the people I've played it with here, a couple of friends of ours, have been really keen on it. And they're not big board gamers. They just wanted to play it again. And every time I turn up to the house, have you brought Stuffed Fables? No, I haven't. Oh, well, bring it next time. So I think it's definitely something to look out for. It wasn't cheap, but that's probably because it's got some really, really nice miniatures in it. Quite a lot of them, actually.
I'm not expecting this to be cheap, to be fair.
No, I think Stuffed Fables, I think RRP was about £60.
Yeah, and based on the fact that Gen 7, which was the last game from Plaid Hat Games, was approaching £100. I think this is not going to be a cheap one.
No, I mean, I don't see how Gen 7 was so expensive, if I'm honest. Because it didn't have many, if any, miniatures in it. But I mean, there's a lot of cards, but I think it was overpriced, if I'm honest.
It's not doing well, that game, either.
No. Because it needs
I'm not hearing any buzz.
4, I think. It needs a minimum number of players as well, if I remember rightly. So it's not that accessible, and it's expensive as well. So I haven't heard positives. But yeah, Comanauts, I think, is going to be quite good. Definitely something I'm keeping an eye on.
Kind of tangentially related, one of my favourite Plaid Hat games is Spectre Ops.
It's a podcast.
We did, and I haven't played that game since. It's most disappointing. But anyway, it's one of my favourite Plaid Hat games, and it's a stealth game in which you're trying to infiltrate somewhere and blow shit up, basically. And the designer of that is now working on a licensed game of Metal Gear Solid. Now, I've only recently got into the Metal Gear Solid games because I got Metal Gear Solid 5 for the PlayStation 4. And that's the first one I played.
What? Get your coat, Tudor.
I never had a PlayStation before then. Oh. This is my first PlayStation. So, no, I tell a lie. I played Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh, that was the shit
2
one.
days. Was it 2? Or was it the first one? No, it was the first one. It was Metal Gear Solid.
That was good. Very, very good.
Yes, it was Metal Gear Solid. I played it for 2 days because my sister's boyfriend at the time allowed me to use his PlayStation. He brought it round and then left it for a few days. So I think I managed to play like 6 hours of Metal Gear Solid 2, and that was like all I played of it. But I've been playing a hell of a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5. And apparently this is going to be, the board game is going to be I think 1 to 4 player. Players will all be various characters in the Metal Gear Solid world. Of course, someone's going to be Solid Snake. And you're going to play against an AI on set missions. What sounds interesting is what they're promising is there is going to be multiple ways to solve a mission.
Well, that's
so it's
cool.
not just going to be a case of, right, okay, you need to get here and kill X.
That's good.
It sounds like there's going to be different ways to approach it, so you can go in guns blazing, you can try and sneak, or you can find different ways of doing it. If they manage to pull that off, that could be amazing in just of its own. My concern is it's being made by IDW.
Ooh.
And in my opinion, they've not got a massive track record of producing great games. I've not played a game of theirs which I've been excited by. Yeah, well, I've not seen any of their games in the past that I've been excited by or heard good things by. But the designer of this being the designer of Spectre Ops, I am quietly confident.
Excellent. Good. Now, I just hope if you do die in the game, you get Snake! 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 Awesome. Oh, yes. No, I really like the Metal Gear Solid series. I've played 1, 2, 3, and 4. I haven't played the 5th one or anything since 4, because 4 was a bit shit, if I'm honest. The second one was a bit shit as well, but 1 and 3 were really good.
5's really good.
Really, I've heard good things about it. Is that Revengeance, or is that...
The Phantom Pain.
Oh, okay. Which one's Revengeance, then? Maybe that's a tangential one.
Isn't that a spin-off one?
It might be, yeah. Might be. But yeah, it's been generally quite a good series. So that sounds interesting. Cool.
Complete tangent. Have you seen the game that Hideo Kojima's working on next?
No.
That looks batshit crazy.
They all are. Hideo Kojima is mental.
No one can work out what the game's even about.
That sounds about right for Hideo Kojima.
There's oil. There's that bloke out of The Walking Dead. There's little babies being kept in jars. And there's invisible aliens.
Right.
And lots of walking around what looks like Iceland.
Okay.
I can't say any more than that. Because no one knows any more than that. I really suggest going to watch a trailer. It's called Death Stranding. And I suggest going to watch one of the trailers or gameplay footages because you'll just end up going, what? But it looks intriguing.
Okay, well.
Anyway.
Good stuff.
Back to board games.
Back to board games. Right, my number 2. I'm just going to basically do that sort of game show thing where the arrow goes up and down the side of the list. I'm just to press a button to try and stop it at this point. I'm going to pick Tang Garden.
Ooh.
I'm going to keep it. Yeah, you see, I'm going to keep you on your toes.
Oh,
you weren't expecting that, were you?
No,
you were expecting big, heavy, dry, boring Euro, weren't you? Of which, to be fair, on this list there are many. But I've picked out Tang Garden because, well, first of all, we need to make a new rule for 2019.
What's that?
You don't get points for games looking pretty anymore.
Okay.
Because it's like the video games. You know, it's kind of expected that the graphics are good these days, because there are so many games that look pretty. You've got to score, you know, you've got to really go the extra mile to get your game to be noticed for being pretty. Tang Garden really does look stunning. It's not an abstract game, but it's not far off it. If you read the blurb, it's about as hippie as it gets. Which is, again, a curious choice for me, because I'm not a big fan of hippies. But the idea of Tang Garden is you are building a Zen garden. So, obviously, Oriental themed, and you have visitors to your garden who come along to enjoy the peace and tranquility and go away spiritually cleansed and uplifted by placing these little tiles down, which do various effects. There's lovely little miniatures as well. You put little bridges in and just basically build up your little sort of Zen haven. It obviously looks beautiful and is a major departure from the sort of game I'd usually go for. But it just seemed to rub me the right way.
Okay.
So I backed it. It's I don't think it's out until later this year, but it's currently in development. I had an update today actually that the miniatures are looking particularly good. It's not a what you'd call a miniatures board game. There's only a few, but it's mostly sort of tiles and sort of cardboard bridges and things like that. But it is definitely worth keeping an eye on. I don't know if it's going to hit shelves. I don't see why it wouldn't, because it wasn't overly expensive. It was about 40 quid, maybe 50 quid. So kind of, you know, ballpark entry levels of the price. But definitely a different game to what I'm usually used to. And certainly different to the sort of plethora of card, miniature, dudes on a map, fighty games that seem to be populating Kickstarter these days. So definitely a welcome relief from all of that.
Okay. That sounds... I've got to admit, it does look beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
But as you said, most games look brilliant now. It's you shouldn't get bonus points for looking pretty anymore, should you?
No, that's why I want the new rule. No one gets points for looking pretty anymore.
You just lose points for looking crap.
Yes. Next.
Every day being a podcaster is like a day on the farm. Every meal is a banquet. Every paycheck a fortune.
Hudson, secure that shit.
Is that the Red Dwarf version?
No, that's what he says. Hudson's
I know, it's
pissing
just
about.
For some reason your accent went more Scouse than
go
normal
Scouse?
then, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yes, I am talking about quite possibly one of my favourite films ever, Aliens. And there is a new Aliens board game coming out this year from Gale Force 9, which is Aliens, Another Glorious Day in the Core, which I think it wins points just for the title alone.
It sounds suitably cheesy. I had a look at this earlier. Was it yesterday? I think it was, just to see what you were bleating about. And I thought, oh, that looks nice. There's just I think a level of camp there, just the right level. Yes, not to be taken entirely seriously.
Yeah, it's the fact they've done what Gale Force 9 does when they get a license. They've used all like video stills from the film, which means in my opinion, it always looks a bit shitty when you use video shots in board games. I mean, I've got the Expanse board game. It's a fantastic game, but it just looks a bit crud when it's in front of you. But you're right. There's a certain amount of cheesiness or campness to it that just pulls that off.
Eau de fromage.
Yeah. Basically, I'm just hoping that this is actually like an Aliens board game which we want to play, if that makes sense, because there was that Alien versus Predator game from Prodos a few years back, which I think the less said about Prodos, the better, really, because I know a lot of people got pissed off with them, with their Kickstarter not arriving, and then when it did arrive, I hardly heard a lot of people saying it sounded amazing. So you're going to take on one of the characters in the game. I think you can be one of the Marines or Ripley, and of course you're going to be going into various areas of Hadley Tope, and well, you'd hope shooting aliens, but I can imagine if this game gets the feeling right, you can be shooting one or two aliens and then running like hell back out of there.
Yes. That was a good thing about Aliens. All the Marines in there were, all sort of mouth on the front, but cotton Y fronts underneath. It was such a great game, such a great film, and so many great lines. That film would not have been anywhere near as good had it not had what's his name, Bill Paxton in it.
Oh, Bill Paxton just made that film.
He really did.
Stop your grinning and drop your linen.
Game over, man. Game over.
Oh, I want to watch that again now.
Yeah, me too. Director's cut, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, God. Hey, Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man? No. Have you?
I say the Red Dwarf version, but the extended cut actually does link Red Dwarf and Aliens.
Really?
The head, so the chief, I don't know what title he's got in Aliens, I can't remember, but the person who runs Hadley's Hope is Captain Hollister from Red Dwarf. It's the same actor.
It is! Oh, God. Oh, my God, it is, isn't it? Wow.
So it's really bizarre when I watched that, because I think I'd seen the film several times before I watched the extended version, and suddenly to go, hang on, is this Red Dwarf? Does this mean that Red Dwarf and Aliens are in the same universe?
Probably why they did the polymorph. Awesome. But it does. So how does the game actually work? We bleated on about Aliens for about 5 minutes and said nothing about the game.
I think that's enough. Well, all we know is it's going to be I think it's going to be a grid-based board game in which you're moving through the board, securing objectives. I would be able to tell you a little bit more if Board Game Geek was currently working right now. I don't think there's much out there on the actual game mechanics. All we know is the 6 different missions which you go through various areas of Hadley's Hope, and so it's going to be mission-based, and it's going to be a campaign mode so you can play from one mission to the next.
Ooh.
And there's a risk it's going to be, and I hope this is not the case, but there's a risk it's going to be that kind of zombie side clone kind of game. But I hope it's not going to be that, but we'll see.
Well, it certainly sounds interesting. Be worth a laugh, if nothing else. Dibs on playing Hicks.
Even if it just means we just make stupid Aliens quotes all the way through.
Not Hicks, Hudson.
Hudson, yes.
Hicks was Michael Biehn, wasn't it? Bean.
Yes.
From Aliens to Alien.
Ooh.
I am looking forward quite considerably to Lifeform, which is apparently, according to Tristan, the publisher and sort of co-designer, it is a game not too dissimilar in form, at least, to Nemesis, which we have talked about by Awakened Realms, but Lifeform is apparently a lot more like Alien than Aliens. So whilst Nemesis is a bit more like Aliens in the sense that you see all these gribblies running around and you're shooting at them and trying to sort of get away and blow up ship, Lifeform is very much more tense, run away and hide, for the love of Christ, don't let it know you're there, and get out any way you can. So you're not armed, you're not prepared in any way, shape or form. So similar sort of idea that there's a big ship that you can move around rooms and things like that on, but there's a lot more focus on tension, horror, probably brutal murder if you go anywhere near the beastie that's running around. I was fortunate that I suddenly realised, shit, I've not backed this. Is there a pre-order? Oh, good, there is. Good.
So you've already backed it then?
Yes.
It's on order.
It is on order.
Excellent.
So it is. It will be winging its way to me at some point later this year. I can't remember exactly when, but I'll be able to tell you.
I disappointed myself by not seeing this. So at the press preview at the UK Games Expo, we spoke to Tristan and he was showing us off the latest prototype for this, and we never got around to actually giving it a demo run at Expo. So I know Tristan usually turns up at Aircon, so I'm hoping we can maybe sneak in a cheeky game of it then.
Oh, that would be good. Now, according to the Kickstarter campaign, it was supposed to ship around December 2018.
Oh,
but it hasn't yet. No, there are a couple of delays. I have had a quick look at the Kickstarter campaign, but it is mostly on the way there, so it's not suffering like development hell or anything. I'm very confident it'll be out in 2019.
Okay.
So, yes, very much looking forward to that.
Another pick from myself, and this is not a game from Kickstarter, but it is a game we should all be aware that's coming, which is Century New World.
Ooh.
Now, in our last episode, I did say that I thought Century Eastern Wonder was one of my favourite games of 2018, and it ended up that Century Spice Road was one of my favourite games of 2017. So it makes logical sense that I really should be excited about
No
the
pressure.
next Century game being delivered in 2019. Now, we don't know much about this at the moment. All we know is it is the third in the Century trilogy from Plan B Games. And we know that it is going to be a similar game, and it will be able to be playable with both Spice Road and Eastern Wonder. So you can combine elements from those games to make another game.
Yes, now I really, really like this idea. Because you and I have both got Spice Road and Eastern Wonder, and neither of us have actually played Santa Sea, so we don't know how well the combination works, but I think this is quite a nice idea. So I'd completely forgotten about it till you wrote it on the list. I thought, oh shit, yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people have, and I think one of the problems is this hasn't got a listing on Board Game Geek yet.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
So we know it's coming out, yet because it hasn't got a listing, I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten about it.
Well, we are fighting the good fight and flying the flag.
We don't know what it's going to be, but what I can guess, educated guess, it's going to involve turning one kind of cube into another kind of cube to meet some kind of contract.
In America.
So it's going to be about
gold, oil, diamonds, sand.
Beaver furs.
Yes. Master fur trappers.
Other than that, we don't know anything, and all we know is it should be usable. Well, I'm assuming it's going to be like Furs and that because it's about the new world, but at the same time, how will it then link with the other two games?
That's a hell of a voyage across the Pacific Ocean from the previous two areas.
It is a bit, isn't it?
Well, it'd be interesting. Maybe you set up some kind of space trading post that you go up and then down again.
Or dig through the centre of the Earth.
Why not? Let's do that.
Yeah, perfect sense.
I think to be honest, it will be quite a good one. The last two have been very, very good, as you say. Very solid, very well designed, very accessible as well, which is one of their strengths. Now, one game we should probably mention.
Yes.
And I would be accused of being remiss by J-Dog for not mentioning it. It's already causing a bit of a buzz, and I think it's already available to either A, pre-order, or B, just order. People have got copies of it already, and that is Wingspan from Stonemaier Games.
Yes.
Now, I have to admit, despite being a bit of a Stonemaier fan, I'm not overly fussed by Wingspan. I don't know why, there's just something about it that doesn't really tickle my fancy.
I think it's the theme, you know.
Possibly.
I think it's the theme, because this is a game about collecting birds for your menagerie. And I think that is the one thing that possibly isn't floating your boat, as it were. Because the gameplay sounds really good.
Yeah, the thing is, you said it's like Terraforming Mars, or potentially a bit like it.
That's what the original press release from Stonemaier Games said.
Yes. Now, I have Terraforming Mars, and one or two of its expansions. And whilst it's... I haven't actually played my copy of it. Whilst it's a solid game, very enjoyable, I'm not a massive sort of proponent of all of the hype around Terraforming Mars.
Now, I'm going to cut you short there because that was one of the initial things I've heard. I've heard since that it's actually more similar to games like Gizmos and Spice Road.
All of a sudden, I am now interested.
Yeah, because what it's about is it's basically an engine building game.
You see, I'm lousy at those.
Right then.
Let's get it.
Let's get it. I can beat Andy.
The thing is, though, Alora's asked me, I think it was last week, says, are you going to be getting that then? Because we both like Stonemaier. Viticulture is basically our favourite game. And I said, yeah, I'm not that bothered by it. She says, all right, I'll get it then. Oh, okay. So one way or the other, I think a copy of this game is going to end up in our house.
That's fair enough. So yeah, it's a game about you're going to be playing bird cards, which then will power up your abilities to get more bird cards for your menagerie, if that makes sense. Yeah. So you always take the action based on the leftmost slot. So the more things you add to your little tableau, the better your actions get each round.
Sure. And the wee eggs look really good too.
The wee eggs look good, although they do look like the Cadbury's mini eggs.
They look edible. You could play a cruel trick on a few people. Would you like some chocolate?
Or the other way around. You can put them out in front of people and then start eating them and like, watch people sweat as you start eating somebody's game.
Oh, that would be amazing. But you can make a legacy version of it. You must eat the egg. So yes, Wingspan looks, well, it has got a huge amount of buzz. Stonemaier are very good at doing that anyway. I have absolutely no doubt it'll do well. Jamie knows what he's doing, although it isn't designed by Jamie. It's designed by a couple of others. No. It's just published by Stonemaier. But to be fair to them, they haven't released a bad game yet. So I'm sure this will be very, very good as well. And I will be eating my words once I play this game.
So I've got another pick based on a similar theory, on a similar concept then, because I'm intrigued by Sierra West. So this is the next game that Board and Dice are flogging to us, as it were. Now, I don't know whether this design has come from the chaps at Board and Dice or from the newly merged NSKN.
Yeah, so what are they called now?
They are actually called Board and Dice. What they've done is they've merged, but rather than changing the name, they've taken the name of Board and Dice.
Okay, interesting. Nice one.
NSKN no longer exists. So if you notice, the new versions of Teotihuacan have got Board and Dice logo on them instead of NSKN's logo.
Oh, that means the version of Twatty Hadouken I've got is now going to be worth clearly a fortune in a million years. Because it's an NSKN version.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Obviously, yes.
So what's intriguing about Sierra West is, much like we've just been talking about Wingspan, is it's kind of this kind of little engine building game. What you're going to do is you're going to build this little pyramid board of cards. Board, which is your player board in front of you, has got little slots in, and what you do is you put cards behind that to reveal certain actions.
Ooh.
So each card has got 3 columns of actions, and the first card you put down only uses the first and third column. The second card you put down uses the middle column, and the third card you put down will override one of the other columns and will use the second and third, like the first and third. So there's a little engine building thing, and eventually what you'll do is you'll build like a little pyramid of cards going up, and each time you'll be overlaying cards over each other. So you build up this little like tree of actions you can take, but it's got this interesting thing where, of course, every time you're making a decision, well, okay, this is an amazing card, but I can't have everything on this card, or if I do, I've got to block off other things that are on the other cards.
Oh, that sounds cool.
It does. It looks really pretty. The artwork and graphic design they've got is really nice and bright and colourful, and it sounds quite interesting. It sounds like to me like it's a proper Euro game. It's all about converting, such wood into cowboys, which then convert into donkeys into gold or something like that. I haven't quite got the complete engine building aspect of it yet.
Sounds right up my street.
But yeah, it sounds like you're going to have some really interesting decisions trying to choose which cards you want to play each round.
Excellent.
Which I think Anna said it looks pretty. It looks really nicely designed as well.
Good. Well, we are fans of Board and Dice, and they've done some bloody good stuff in the last few years. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that one. Tableau Euro, Board and Dice, job done, nailed on. I think one more, maybe.
One more. Go on now. We'll let you have one more then, Andy.
Well, you're not letting me have one more. You're actually letting John have one more. Although, to be fair, it is on my list as well.
That's cheating, surely.
This is kind of a proxy win for me. Is the game Pipeline.
Actually, I've just looked at our lists. Pipeline is
it's on all three of them. There you go, you see.
There we go. Everyone's a winner.
Win. And we mentioned Pipeline in one of our news articles. I think John sort of ferreted it out a few podcasts ago.
It was our Essen preview episode.
It was. There you go. That was a while ago. Bloody hell. And this came as a bit of a surprise. Certainly to me, and I think to all of us, in fact. One, because we'd never heard of it before. And two, because John picked it. And it's what you would call a dry, boring Euro. But it has a twist. Because it's basically you running an oil company. The oil companies are being privatised, so the idea is obviously you're piping all of this stuff across the world, making lots and lots of money, and moving resources and stuff around. So the sort of thing that I go do lally for. But I suppose the twist on Pipeline is it has almost a mini game, or at least it looks like it has a mini game of pipe dream in it. So you got all these oil pipes going across the board that you can build this pipeline into, as well as moving all of your resources around as well. And the three of us were really keen on seeing this following Essen. We didn't go to Essen, sadly. I've backed it. I don't know if John has. So it is one of the games I am looking forward to getting this year from Kickstarter. But it just looks really crisp, really clean, and it just sounds fantastic. It really does. So it's almost from a relative unknown as well. It's a brand new developer, brand new designer, but it just seems to have that je ne sais quoi of yes, all three of us are actually really keen to play this. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this.
So I don't know if the designer's Ryan Courtney. I don't know what else he's done, but it's by Capstone Games, and Capstone seems to have come from nowhere. I swear I'd never heard of Capstone Games last year.
I'm pretty sure this is their first game.
Well, they also did Ragusa is Capstone in partnership with Brain Crack.
There we go. Yeah, I've backed Ragusa as well.
Yeah, there we go. Good lad.
Of course.
So they're actually not new. Capstone have actually they've done quite a few games actually, but I'd never really heard of them before, which was a bit bizarre.
Oh, okay. I sit corrected.
So I said they've done quite a few. I think
that's why it's the first time designer Ryan Courtney. That's why it's designers, right? Not the publisher.
So it's also the artwork's by Ian O'Toole, who you will notice cropping up all over the place in various board game designs. And I agree with you, it looks like a combination between a silly mini game and a dry, heavy Euro, which sounds absolutely bizarre. Now, I didn't back this because I knew you backed it, and I'm pretty sure John's backed it as well.
I don't know.
So I'm excited to play your copy.
Yes, well, I'm sure you will. Because either that or I don't follow John on Kickstarter, but it hasn't grassed him up to me.
I don't think I'm following John on Kickstarter. I don't think I can. I don't think he's linked his account properly.
Okay, so maybe he's got away with stealthing it.
Yeah.
But no, it does look wonderful. And I do remember actually that Ryan got in touch with me. I think it was via Twitter saying thank you very much for mentioning him. It was very unexpected and very, very... it was very nice of us. So we'll keep that going. We're still interested. Very interested. I've put my money where my mouth is. So yeah, definitely looking forward to Pipeline.
I've put your money where my mouth is.
Yes,
so
well, that's all right.
Good.
That's fine. You usually do. Tell me about a game and let Acquisition Disorder do the rest.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I think we'd better stop because otherwise we'll be here all night.
I think we should, yes. I think it's time to draw it to a close. So that's been our top picks for 2019. We will revisit them in 12 months and see how good they actually are. Hopefully some of these games will be making our top list of the year, but we'll wait and see. But those are what we're excited for. So thank you very much for listening. We've been Polyhedron Collider. If you'd like to give us a review on your podcast platform of choice, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you want to chat to us, we are always available on Twitter. As a group, we are at PolyhedronC, and I'm usually monitoring that one and can forward anything to the relevant individual if it be required. But if you want to speak to us directly, I am at Wahothelmadenga.
Bless you. I am at Sonic H with a 0.
And John is at John_Cage.
We are also on Facebook and at the Board Game Geek Guild 2726. And you can also find us on youtube.com/user/Polyhedron Collider. And if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, which I know some of you are, we do have a Twitch account, which we play weekly-ish.
Yeah, we do play. Well, I play Dungeons and Dragons weekly on it, and then it alternates between the two different groups. Which we haven't mentioned anything Dungeons and Dragons on this list, I realised. Because we don't actually know what's coming out.
No, but I think rest assured, when it does come out, I'll be buying it.
Yes. I'm excited for insert name of Dungeons and Dragons product here.
And I will be buying insert name of Dungeons and Dragons product here.
So, we wait in eager anticipation to see what Wizards of the Coast are going to release. But until next time, tatty bye and happy gaming.
Indeed. Ta-ra.